In this example, I want to look at the homework for week one. And the homework for week one, and I've titled it A. And the reason I've titled it A is because this is an 8-week course. And the way a typical semester course would work would be this would be week one material, and then there would be week two material. And I'm going to do week one A and B material. And so basically, you're getting week one as the A lecture, and then week two as the B lecture of week one. Okay, so that's just for my organization. So if we look at assignments, you're going to see week one A, and that's the stuff that you should be working on first. And if I click on that, it's going to have all the week one material that a full semester student would see. And then you'll have week 1B, which is going to be, because this is an accelerated kind of 8-week course, you're going to see the B material. And right now I have that hidden from you. I really want you focusing on the A material first and then the B material. So if I click into week 1A, you're going to notice a couple of things. It gives you the overview of week one. There's a couple of lectures. There's a Getting Started in Web Design that Lori Kelly produced. I have that on here. A couple of different videos that I want you to watch regarding how HTML pages work. So what is HTML? How does it fit into this concept of the web? These videos go through that. There's specific information for this course. So the week one screencasts and source code. So if we click on this, you're going to see the source code from the screencast. So as I'm creating a demo, kind of showing you how an HTML page works, there's some source code that's associated with that. That's these two files. And then down below is a video linking you out to a YouTube screencast. Okay, so that's kind of the setup that we're dealing with. If I go into the assignments, and again, week 1A, excuse me, and I scroll down, you have a reading quiz that's going to be due 1 week from today. And then you're also going to have exercise 1 that's also due 1 week from today. And what I want to do in this screencast is really focus on the details necessary to complete exercise 1. So if I go into exercise 1, there's instructions and an assignment submission. And I apologize, my dogs are barking in the background. So there's instructions for the exercise, which is the actual assignment, and then the homework that you complete, you're going to submit through the exercise 1 assignment submission. Okay, so if I click on the instructions, it takes me out to a link that goes through the different details that you'll have to complete in order to complete the exercise. Okay, so I want to walk you right through exercise 1. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of how do we create an HTML page and how can we complete exercise 1 so that everyone can get credit for the first exercise. Okay, so we're going to create a folder for our web development. So it says in the web development folder you've created on your hard drive, create a folder named exercise 1. So I'm going to assume that my desktop is that web development folder, and I'm going to create an exercise 1 folder in it. Okay, so on my desktop, so going out to my desktop, I'm going to create a new folder called exercise 1. And then it tells me to create 3 folders underneath it, a web pages folder, a style sheets folder, and an images folder. So I'm going to go ahead and create those. Here's web pages. Here's a new folder called Style Sheets. And I think it has the S as uppercase in the example. So I'm going to go ahead and be consistent with my case. And then I'm going to have another folder named Images. Okay, so those are the 3 folders that I have underneath the exercise. So notice there's no spaces in the folder names. And then I'm being consistent with the case. So the P is uppercase here, the S is uppercase here, and then images is all lowercase. Okay, and what this is asking us to do is it's asking us to go out to an existing web page and recreate that web page. But it's not asking us to create any source code of our own. It's really asking us, can we copy that web page from that existing site? So it says we're going to navigate out to this learningwebdesign.com/5e/kitchen.html file. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that URL, and I'm going to bring it over to a new tab, and I'm going to paste it in. Okay, so this is my web page that I want to recreate. Okay, this is the book's website. So I want to recreate this page, and the way I'm going to recreate the page is I'm going to right click on the page, and then there's an option to view the page source. And if I view the page source, you'll notice those same concepts that we were dealing with when we looked at the first video of I have an HTML template. So I have a beginning HTML tag and an ending HTML tag. I have a beginning head tag and an ending tag. I have a beginning body tag and an ending body tag. But I also have some other content in here. Okay, so I have some stuff inside the head section and I have some stuff inside the body section. But for the start of this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this. So I'm going to select everything there, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go back over to my Atom text editor and I'm going to paste it in. And I don't want this blank space on the first line, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And right now you'll notice there's no indentation here. And there doesn't have to be indentation, but indentation makes things easier to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to indent the head section, and I'm going to indent the body section to show that those are nested inside the HTML. And then additionally, everything in the body section, I'm going to indent that. Okay? And what you'll notice is that this file name is kitchen.html. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that file as kitchen.html. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to save it again on my desktop in this exercise folder. And the exercise asked me to create these 3 folders, and I'm going to ignore those 3 folders for the time being. I'm just going to go ahead and save this as kitchen.html. Okay, so there's my kitchen.html. That's the file that I have. And if I view this with my Atom Live server, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up with my Atom Live server. So I stop it because I had it running before. I'm going to go ahead and start it again. And it brings up a listing of all the files in that directory. The one that I care about is this HTML page. Okay, so I'm now viewing the HTML page. I tried to copy Jen's Kitchen here, and you'll notice that my version of Jen's Kitchen doesn't look the same. Even though I went out, I viewed the page source, I copied it, pasted it into my own HTML file, I have the exact same HTML, but this Jen's Kitchen that was out on the web does not look like this Jen's Kitchen that I created, that's on my local desktop. Okay, and there's a couple of reasons why. So if I'm looking at the source code, one thing you'll notice is in the head section, there's this style sheet. And what the style sheet does is it allows us to style HTML tags. Okay, and we're going to get into style sheets and what CSS is and what it does for us as the semester goes along. But for now, just know that it styles our HTML tags. And I'm missing that file. I don't have that file. That file doesn't exist on my local desktop. It exists on the website, Learning Web Design, but it doesn't exist in my directory structure. Notice I don't have any style sheet there. So I'm missing this kitchen.css file. What I want to do is I want to go out to the web and get it. So instead of looking at the HTML page, I might want to see the style sheet. Okay, so you'll notice I just changed the file extension, and now I have the style sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this as well. So I'm going to go back over to Atom. I'm going to create a new file. The file name is going to be kitchen.css, and I'm going to paste the stuff that was in that style sheet. Okay, so I go ahead and save that file. And what we're going to notice is now my example is looking more like the example that was on the web. Okay, so now we have this kind of bluish green text. It's italicized. You'll notice some things are styled a little differently, but it's still not quite perfect. And the reason it's not quite perfect is you'll notice I have this food illustration that doesn't exist over here in Jen's Kitchen. And then I also have these broken image links is what this is representing. And the reason I have broken image links is, again, if I go back to the source code, you'll notice that I'm referencing some image tags, and it's saying that the source is these particular image files. Again, I don't have those image files on my local computer. They're on the web, so on the website, Jen's Kitchen, it looks great, but on my local computer, these things are not rendering correctly. So I want to go download those files as well. So foods.png and spoon.png. So if I go to foods.png, there's the image. So I'm going to go ahead and save this image. So right click, save image as. I'm just putting it into this exercise1 folder. And the other image was spoon.png, and I'm going to save that one as well. So I'm saving that. And now, if I look at my website, now you'll notice that it looks identical to our kitchen.html file. So now these pages look identical. And the reason they look identical is because now I have all the resources that made up this web page. And I really just want to take a second to clarify what I mean by that. This web page is a couple of different things. It's HTML, and this class is focused on HTML, but it's also a style sheet, so describing the style of the HTML, and then it's also made up of 2 images. And I need all of those assets. So I need the HTML, I need the style sheet, I need the images, I need all of those assets to make my web page look and feel the exact same way as this website did out on the internet. Okay, so now if I look at my file system, this is what I have for exercise 1. And you can imagine this is a fairly simple website. Maybe not for our first go of it, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a fairly simple website. And I would suggest that this is already getting kind of hard to read. And if you remember back, we started off the project, or we started off this demo by having these 3 separate folders. And the 3 separate folders are really there for organization. Okay, and the organization, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. The images for my website are going to go into the images folder. So I'm going to take the 2 images that I have and I'm going to move them into the images folder. So the first one goes and the second one goes. Again, organization pretty self-explanatory. So this style sheet, this CSS file is a style sheet. Style is the HTML. I'm going to move that into my style sheets folder. And then kitchen.html is a web page. It's an HTML page. So I'm going to move that into my web pages folder. Okay, so now all of my files have a specific spot for them. All of my resources that make up this web page all belong in a specific location. I have some images, I have a style sheet, I have a web page, and that's what ultimately gets rendered. Now, if I go back to my browser, I've broken things. Okay, so you'll notice that there is no such thing as kitchen.html, and that's because that file exists in the web pages directory. So if I go to web pages/kitchen, now you'll notice that I have my HTML file and it's going to render properly, but I have some missing pieces again. You'll notice that I don't have kind of that italicized text up here for Jen's Kitchen. I don't have my images again. And the reason I don't have those things is because if I look at my directory structure, and it's sometimes easier to see it in Atom. Okay, so I look at my directory structure. I have images, I have my style sheet, I have my web pages, and really we're working with this HTML file, so that's what we have here. You'll notice that it says this HTML file has a dependency of this particular style sheet, kitchen.css. And what's happening to me here is kitchen.css is no longer in the same directory as my web page. If it was in the same directory as my web page, then it would be able to find kitchen.css, but since it's not in the same directory, it's not in the same folder, it's not going to find this file. So I have to tell my HTML page exactly where that file is. And because of my organization, now I've broken things. So I want to fix them. So instead of saying that kitchen.css is in my web pages directory, I want to say that it's in this style sheets directory. In order to do that, I have to do some navigating around things. I have to basically say, relative to my HTML page, this is where that style sheet is. Okay, so if I kind of shrink this up again, I know that my web page, my HTML file is in this web page directory. In order to find that style sheet, the way a computer works is I have to go to the parent directory, so I have to go to Exercise01, and then I can go into the style sheets directory, and that's where it's going to be located. Okay, so I'm going to tell the computer that. And the way I'm going to tell the computer that is I'm going to use the convention .. which says, from my HTML page, I'm currently in the web pages directory. I want you to move up a directory. I want to move to the parent, which is Exercise1. Once I'm in Exercise1, then I want you to go into the style sheets directory. And in that directory, that's where you're going to find this particular style sheet. And you'll notice when I save this now, and I go back over to my browser, now you'll notice that the style changed. So it has that italicized text, and it's kind of that bluish green tint. The font's changed. So it found that style sheet, so now things are good there. But I still don't have my images. So let's go ahead and fix that as well. And then the same issue there. So foods.png and spoon.png are not in the web pages directory, they're in the images directory. So I kind of have to use a similar convention that I did up above for the style sheet. I have to go from my HTML page, I'm in the web pages directory, I'm going to go to the parent, which is Exercise1. Then I'm going to go into the images directory and find that image. And then exact same process for the other image. Okay, so now because I've organized things, now I have to be a little bit more explicit about where I'm going to find those things. Okay, and what these are known as is the relative paths. And the terminology relative means relative to the file that you're working on. In our case, kitchen.html, relative to this file, where the heck am I going to find this image on my computer? Where the heck am I going to find this style sheet? So I'm giving instructions about where to find it, and the instructions are included in what's known as a relative path. Okay? So this is the basics of Exercise 1. Once I'm done with Exercise 1, I'm going to come out to my desktop. I have Exercise 1 completed now. You'll have Exercise 1 completed after you work through those same steps and get it all working and rendering properly. Once you're done, I want this entire folder. So this entire folder includes all your images, your style sheets, your web pages, including how you organized it to make sure that you're organizing things properly. You can right click on it, and then there's a couple of different options. Since I'm using a Mac, I'm going to want to compress Exercise 1. If I'm using a Windows operating system, then there's going to be a send to and then compressed file. So there's a send to and then a subcontext menu called compressed file. It's going to produce a zip. So here's my zip file. And then that zip file is what I'm going to upload into Blackboard. So in Blackboard, under the assignment submission, I'm going to come out to the assignment submission. I'm going to browse my computer. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to find that zip file, and I'm going to submit it. And at that point, then you're kind of playing a waiting game of when I review it and look at it and give you feedback and give you credit for the assignment. But at that point, you're done with the assignment. Okay, that's how you're going to submit your assignments for this class.